We are going to go into the next practice, which is betting small. And so it's the next step in putting more form or putting more meat on the bone on these ideas. And this last step is the one that's going to allow us to walk out of here with a portfolio that the committee is going to be able to evaluate, dig into, and extract whatever it is that they think that they want to further pursue. So again, here comes another one of my little homemade videos here, just to give you context on the practice of betting small, and then we're going to go right into the next drill.
It's time to bet small. Bet small is the fifth practice in the Think Wrong process. And we bet small when we're trying to decide why and where we're going to invest time and resources. When it comes to those biological forces that we've been talking about throughout our time, well, as we know, we're wired for survival and to avoid risks as human beings. And so betting small provides a way to go forward without feeling like we're risking everything. Betting small also helps us overcome those cultural forces in our organizations. So when an organization is held back by an individual or the organization itself, we tend to default to extensive planning cycles or ROI assessments to mitigate risk. And so we see that a lot of times resulting in people taking no action or going so big that they obsess over unknowable ROI. Small bets allows us to avoid all of that stress and produce LFI, learning from investment. And we do that by reducing risks through small experiments and quick insights. The Think Wrong response to moving from idea to action that betting small helps with is, one, being curious and letting discovery drive solutions, being experimental, testing hypotheses and treating unexpected results as opportunities for breakthroughs, and being thrifty, using the least amount of time and fewest resources possible to get answers to our most important questions. So it's pretty cool. So the next drill we're going to do is called LFI Pack. Again, LFI means learning from investment. And the outcomes are going to be, well, one, prioritization for formulation, incubation, acceleration, growth, elevation of activities. Increased certainty about assumptions, knowledge, and presumptions that are critical to successful solutions. And freedom from the need to be right.
All right. So that's the bet small practice. Couple of comments. So right now, as I've gone around the room and just observed and I've listened and I've kind of taken in your presentations, we have a lot of big ideas. And some of the ideas are like really, really cool. Well, they're all really cool. But what we need to do now is we need to, hey Anthony, welcome. Good to see you. Welcome back, Anamika. We need to take those ideas and we need to come right back down from 35,000 feet to the ground. And so I want to just take a moment and have everybody just focus on the challenge statement. You know, what interdisciplinary, university-wide structures and systems will unlock collaboration around AI to serve the public good? So for this next exercise, I want you to obsess on that. And I want you to take your idea and break it all the way down and focus on the systems and structures that you need in order for your idea to take flight. So is it a new communications platform? Is it new code? Is it a new organizational structure with new positions? Do we need to look at the hiring process? Do we need to look at the way people are compensated here? All those kinds of things. So we're now at the systems and structures level, and we're plugging in systems and structures in order for our big ideas to take flight. And so we can do this. What we'll have is that nice portfolio of ideas that the committee is going to be able to run with and evaluate and choose from. So is that clear? So far, so good? Is that clear? So we're focusing on systems and structures to have our ideas take flight. Yes? Okay. As I said in the video, it's all about mitigating risk. So think simple. Think, what could we do on Monday? What system could we try on Monday that would be easy, that wouldn't put anything at risk or make us vulnerable? Little plays, little bets. We're going to have 30 minutes, so just take your time. Let's see here. Philip, you're alone. Luke, Jeremy, can you join Philip on this? Are you okay with that? Troy, you want to Skylar want to work together on his project? Okay, so 30 minutes. We're focused on systems and structures that are going to enable our ideas to take flight. Let's go for it. Okay, we're going to shift gears, everyone. If we could come together, we're going to move into our presentation round. Philip's going to go first. We're going to have 5 minutes, and then we're going to go around the room. So we'll go second. You'll go second. I know. So you're going to go. All right, so I'm going to kill the music. I need to get by. Yeah, hang on. Okay, Philip, let me give you the microphone so we can hear you. And so what we are doing here, just let me tee this up really quickly. I'd like everybody to share the journey. So we've done a lot of work. We've traveled a lot of miles, conceptually, you know, starting with 3x3s, anchors, rockets, be stupid, name it, and now here we are. So Philip's going to take us on the journey that he and his group were on, and then we're going to end on a really clear articulations of the structures and systems that he sees, or not, to unlock collaboration.
Thank you, Mark. So for those who I have not met, I'm Phil Beaver. I'm the director of the Masters of Business Analytics here on campus in the Daniels College of Business. I was with some very sharp people who have all abandoned me. They got sick of me. You'll see why in a minute. So our journey, it was Michael articulated it very nicely this morning when he said we had some people who were interviewed who had no idea what this was, and we had actually happened to run into a few practitioners on campus, and those practitioners shared some very deep thoughts on AI. We were able to take that. This was dominated by, again, some people who have been here for a long time as professional academics, and they looked at, you know, this was basically a resourcing issue, and those were the issues. And so our anchors were all, hey, we need more resources, and our rockets were all, well, here's the resources we could use. Imagine that. We were by far the stupidest group because nobody found anything good in our stupid solution. And so I think we succeeded at that. And so they brought us to here, and at this point it was just me. And I wrote down some comments that I wrote down when I walked into the room this morning. So these are almost duplicated on a yellow pad as I made notes to myself. With deference to the incredible hard work that the committee has done, my first comment is about the prompt. I believe it's wrong. Okay? Is the problem AI, or is the problem public good? If the problem's public good, then we need to identify what the specific problems are. We need to try to solve those using all solution methodologies. And that should include AI and machine learning and analytic data discovery and systems analysis and all the other problem-solving technologies that we use here on campus. Okay, yeah, the psychologists have something to say about that. The international relations folk have something to say about that. So my comment was, you never go to the most complex solution first. You never say, we have a problem that we want to solve. Oh, well, let's do an AI solution. No, let's explore all the possible solutions. What does that mean? It means AI needs to be in our kit bag, and it needs to be, you know, part of our solution problem-solving methodology. Okay. On the flip side, if this is AI, okay, if we're really here talking about AI, then, and thank you to Marty for explaining to me that there have been a series of lunches that somehow I missed. So this is kind of my suggestion on how this would sequence out. I said we need a series of summits to kick this off, but we need to get to the gist very quickly, okay, or we're going to end up with empty rooms in the afternoon. in particular, we need to answer the following. First of all, what is AI? I bet if everybody wrote down their definition in this room, we would not have two match. Okay. What is needed to get to AI? So obviously, you can't talk about AI without talking about programming, machine learning, data-driven decisions, ethical considerations, privacy, all those other aspects. Who knows Stephen Hague? Stephen Hague is an incredible guy in Daniels College of Business. You recognize him because he's very long hair, a gray beard, and never wears shoes. Okay. Stephen has been running the app-driven Madden Challenge for 7 or 8 years, 8 or 9 years here on campus. It's an incredible thing where every freshman in the business college puts together an app, and they have this competition. In the first 2 years, we had 12 LLCs formed around that exercise. Stephen is now telling us in Daniels, I am shifting that, I'm pivoting it to AI. Brilliant idea, but as our analytics professors have pointed out, these kids don't know how to round. And we're taking them straight to AI. Let's make them a little bit more literate numerically. Okay, build some numeracy first. So what is needed to get there? Then, and this is what I was hoping to see today, what's being done? So next month there's a summit in Seattle. Well, if you're in the AI community, most of you are probably familiar with it. Practitioners are sharing their solutions exactly like Lily did. It was when her ideas were wonderful. I was hoping to see that. Having our faculty share what we're doing in research, in industry, in the classroom, needs to be a first step so we can build a picture of the landscape here on campus. Okay? Next, educational best practices. Who's teaching this? And by the way, who in here is teaching this? You are. I am. Okay. I'd love to hear an hour or two of your curriculum and what you're doing and how you're delivering it. I doubt mine would inform yours at all, but I want to hear what you're doing. And then, and what's working? What's working, what's not? Resources. Again, Lily said, hey, I'm teaching this. I have not been on GitHub. I'm using what's built in to R and Python and SPSS and these other packages. But what's out there that's free? What's on campus that's available to us? So I learned this morning that our high-performance computing cluster just had an AI solution deployed on top of it that's available for everybody here on campus. I would not have known that had we not gotten together. This is something I should know. This is something we all should know and we should be leveraging. So how do we get on it? Where is Ben Fodovich up here from DUIT telling us about this, and here's a login and here's how you get an account. Once we've gotten through those steps, and I understand I've missed the lunches where we probably have gotten through many of the steps, now we need to talk about systems and structure. And to be honest, I don't know what those systems and structures are until I know what the landscape is. And I don't think anyone else here does either. I think in order to get to those systems and structures, we need to know the landscape. We got to know what's in place. And so once we get there, then we can organize for success across campus. Is it wanted? Obviously. Okay. Our students are demanding it. Our students' parents are demanding it. Really? Is it doable? Of course, everybody's doing it. Okay. As long as we know what it is and what we're doing, is it worth it? Consider the alternative. No one here wants to be the next Netflix. Or the next Blockbuster. Everyone wants to be the next Netflix. Okay, we're sitting on the cusp of new technology that we can finally start implementing and leveraging. Why not? So I apologize for being a bit of an naysayer, but as a practitioner, full disclosure, I am, as a professor of practice, I'm with an organization off campus, one professional, that we are implementing an AI solution for one of our products. So I'm very vested in this. I care about it. And we need to go there as an institution. So Marty, thank you for leading us. Mark, thank you for giving me the microphone and for putting this on today. I don't want to be negative, but I think we need to move, and we need to move quickly, and there's a way, there's a series of steps that I think are needed before we get there. So, thank you.
Before you go too far, Philip, any questions? Weigh in? Okay. All right. Who belongs to this over here? Come on up, guys. We'll do you next. Okay, Grandma. If you could introduce yourself, that would be great.
Is that on? Yeah. My name is Damon Abraham. I'm a PhD student in the psychology department. I study affect and cognition. And so here I'm representing Project Obsolete, which is kind of the dystopian vision for AI and kind of taps into maybe a lot of layperson fears, the kind of the threat of AI, the promise of AI to undo our bright, shiny future. And a lot of the feedback that we got from that is a lot of the things that we identified as far as like making life easier and managing data and using AI to help manage aspects of our lives are actually quite positive things. It's this last step where it's the AI robots taking your job. And so the kind of the feedback we got was that, maybe, DU could kind of sit somewhere in here in finding ways to make sure that these first three steps are actually taking us forward into a better place as opposed to this more dystopian vision. So when we were brainstorming ideas as far as kind of the lowest hanging fruit, things that could be accomplished relatively easily, one thing would be just to identify what's currently being done. And I think this seminar series has been really great for that, introducing who are the key stakeholders, who's using AI for what kinds of activities are being done. But I still get a sense that there's a lot of pockets of knowledge that are untapped, and a lot of people are not fully aware of all of the opportunities, all of the tools, all of the resources. So even just a campus-wide survey, including students, to identify who is currently using AI and in what capacity, and not just that, but who can benefit from AI. Where is there a possible need? What are the possible use cases? And how can AI be used to help? So just as a starting point, just to kind of assemble a database of, here's the current state of things on campus, okay? And then from that, continuing to build out a series of events. So, we have this idea of the seminar series, which I think has been tremendously successful. But I think possibly tailoring that a little bit around what comes out of this first survey. One thing I've noticed, just hearing people talk about solutions throughout the day, is coming from a university, we like to apply the university mindset. So it's like, well, of course, what we need is a class or a course, right? And that's kind of like using the university hammer, and we're going to find the university nail and kind of do what we already know. But one thing that occurred to me, I started a student club here on campus called Consciousness Technologies that was kind of hopefully trying to get some ground up initiatives, trying to engage students, trying to find ways if there's collaborations across departments, and really starting at the lowest level, the project level, the student interest level, and building out from there. And I think that that's something that's possible to do. Something else that I kind of noticed through the talks is we talk about AI and knowing and being informed about AI, but people here have a neuroscience background, right? And anyone who has a neuroscience background knows that there's lots and lots of levels of analysis, right? We can talk about microcellular processes, intracellular processes, systems level neuroscience, all the way up to social neuroscience. That's a thing, right? And so when you say neuroscience, it tends to evoke the lowest common action potentials of little tiny microprocesses and neurons in the brain, but we could be talking about much larger phenomena. So metaphorically speaking, what I mean when I say that is there's a lot of places for people to plug in to this topic without having to have that necessary lowest level of expertise. So to me, a class in computer science doesn't quite cut it, because that's not going to be accessible to necessarily to people in humanities that maybe don't have that skill set or even that interest. And yet I think they have a lot to bring to the table in terms of ideas. And at the end of the day, it's the end user of AI. It's AI for the people, not AI for the technologists that we're really concerned about, right? So kind of moving on, some of the types of events then could be more like student-led clubs. A meetup group was one thing that came up as a suggestion for us, like engaging the community, not just people on campus. Hackathons is a really good idea, like university-sponsored hackathons that are encouraging not just the technical aspect, but all levels of analysis, right? And then, maybe a larger level symposium where we have DU faculty, admin, students who are identified in this first step, discussing not only the ongoing projects and what's being done in the research, but also maybe talking about different use cases. Here's a problem that I have, here's a level of research that we're doing that could possibly benefit from AI. So it's kind of a good way to build synergy. But having attended a lot of conferences, it's something that we've talked about, some of the best collaborations fall out, not from the conference itself, but from the social hours. So, using this as a way to have socials and like an AI speed dating event at the end or something like that. And of course, identifying sponsors from the community, vendors who might have vendor tables talking about their products or what they're using AI for in their businesses, and keynote speakers that are specialists from industry. Finally, maybe more like events organized around specific projects, needs, or problems that are a little bit more niche. Again, going back to our database and defining who are the possible mentors that could help sponsor projects, who has the skill sets and who has the needs, and trying to match those people together based on their interests and their capacity to fill those interests. That's about it.
Questions? No? Yes, please.
Weren't you also talking about a survey?
Yeah, that was kind of the starting of the survey, identifying all of the stakeholders, and then kind of building out from there.
Perfect, thank you. Haluk? Shoang? Can you bring your boards forward? There you go.
Okay, so our
They're going to bring it forward.
stupid idea was no AI at DU, and essentially the goal was to illustrate that you need some kind of motivation and challenge, and the provost does it in the opposite way, tells faculty you can't do it, and that gives the motivation and challenge for faculty to do it. But in terms of being simple and offering structural systems level things, Xiaoying had a great engineering idea and sold diagrams, and so it would take, for example, let's take an example, engineering faculty would get together with, say, social sciences, and first identify a problem, and that's the question of why, what is the problem, define it, and how it serves the public good, and then working with other schools like law school, economy, finance, why, and question would be addressed, and so that way the groups will be together in formulating the problem and coming up with the rationale and justification of all these questions. Other things that we had are much simpler, structural things, for example, DU level center institute on AI that would bring faculty, resources, and so on. So that's a structural component. Seed funding for multidisciplinary research on AI. So this again, faculty will self-organize instead of we deciding, these areas we should invest, faculty self-organizes and proposes. Cluster hiring in AI. I mean, already hiring in a single department is very difficult. Now, this year we are trying in our school to do cluster hiring across 3 departments. It's difficult, but it's more difficult at the university level, but I think that's something, if you want to push multidisciplinary research, that's something we have to work on. Impact in terms of social good. This could be a criterion in annual reviews of faculty, tenure promotion, and so on. Strategic sabbatical leave program for faculty to go and interconnect with national, international universities, government organizations, companies to build a large network. Funding for multidisciplinary PhDs, that would bring faculty together, so it has to be at least 2 co-advisors from different schools, and the motivation to get a PhD student. And visiting professor positions. If we find there are gaps in what we are doing, we can bring someone with that expertise as a visiting faculty, catalyze that research, and enable things, collaborative work. Otherwise, since there is a gap, faculty will be working in isolation. So it's a whole bunch of small ideas.
Great. Thank you. Any questions? Still no questions, okay. Which group is going to be next? Skylar? Thank you, Luke. Go ahead and bring your boards up, please. Is that right? So Keith, if you could introduce yourself, so.
Yes, my name is Keith Miller. Thanks, Troy. So on campus, I do quite a few things. I'm wearing my DU shirt today because we have a hockey game in a couple hours, just so UMass Amherst. Anyway, so go Pioneers. All right, so my day job is I'm the director of the University Honors Program, so I'm not an AI specialist, and I'm also a faculty member in the Department of Chemistry and Biochemistry. So our group ended up ending with the idea of this fact swap, the idea being that in order to get over fear and the uncertainty would be to kind of spend one day in my shoes, in my life, to try to figure out what I'm doing, to try to build community that way. So we got some feedback. One of it was, have a field day. Maybe that's a mental field day. Exercise might be nice too. So we tried to make this go in a general direction that would be doable. And so we took on your idea, what can we do on Monday, to heart. And so one of the ideas we came up with was really to think about sitting in someone else's shoe for a quarter, or a seat for a quarter. If we want to build collaborations across differences, then what would it be like for different people in the AI community to actually have to experience another faculty's scholarship by taking a class from them? So this is not a new idea, but the idea would be to maybe connect that to funding. We always ask about resource, but resource comes sometimes at the expense of building community. So when you isolate yourself, say, we're for AI, then there are some people on campus, communities on campus that are marginalized because they're not part of the game. So in this idea is maybe we could have people, in order for you to compete for some of this money, that you might have to take a lecture, take a series of lectures, take a course in a discipline outside of yours so you could better understand the consequences or the potential future of AI. So it couldn't be like Keith the chemist taking a physics class. That wouldn't cut it. I would probably have to take a history class. That was for you, Dauber, by the way. So that's one idea. So that might be too hard to do, right? But you can imagine where we could think about then team teaching. So lower stakes, but how could you take two faculty members from very different parts of the campus community, to team teach courses around artificial intelligence, to really build that synergy. I think that's what's important. So that's that co-teaching. I really like the idea of connecting to funding, because then there are stakes in the game. But it also builds community if I have to do it from a different person's perspective, taking these classes. Let's see. The last thing I think is important is I think I touched on the community. We talked about the community, but in order for this to occur, it's also going to have leadership at the level that's not just deans and provosts and vice provosts. It has to be just above the deck plates. Sorry, I'm an old Navy guy. So just, that chair level, those individuals are going to be critical. So we need to come up with some way to build community and leadership training. And the last thing I want to end with is just something I was thinking when I was listening. We often have blind spots in academia. And this is no slight on the attorneys in the room. But we don't want to be ambulance chasers. In other words, we're talking about AI, how can we get funding to drive in this direction? What about the other disciplines that could benefit in positive ways from artificial intelligence? How can we support them? So my one example might be, there are some occupations that are AI immune, possibly. Those social interactions, so our graduate school is social work. So to build community, what we might also think about strategically is, while we're talking about the momentum for AI, how can we also talk about supporting those parts of the campus that will have a better future, probably, when we try to deal with social issues, health issues, where you have to use interpersonal relationships, the human contact. I think that's it. That's it.
Great. Skylar, anything to add? Thank you very much. Can we lean these back, or are they gonna? Can we lean them back right here, or is it gonna send them flying? It's not looking good. Okay. All right. Is there any group that has yet to present? Yes, come on up. Your boards are over here. Let me grab them. Oh, okay. Yeah. Does that work? We've got one more board. Should I go grab it? Okay. Excuse me. Okay, where would you like me to put this? We good to go? What? Okay. Okay, just introduce yourself to get started. I'm going to hold this. Yeah, I'm going to hold it.
Okay, hi everyone, my name is Diana, and I'm in the community, and I'm very interested in AI and cybersecurity and data protection, so that's the reason why I'm here. So started out with going out to campus and asking three individuals questions about AI. I guess the theme that we ran across was that many of them didn't know AI, or they knew AI because they were involved in some way with AI, in the sense that they had taken a course before. Another thing that we saw was that many of them had trust issues with regards to, they didn't know whether to trust AI, whether or not their data was being used in an ethical way. And what else? And then one of the concerns that we saw with regards to ways that they will lose trust on an organization that is using their data is using their data for profit purposes instead of for the public good. And then we also went into the anchors and rockets. Many of the anchors dealt with resources and the community not being involved with just the development of AI for the public good. And then we came up with some rocket solutions to these anchors, these problems, and many of them dealt with community involvement and trying to, I guess that pivots into the community being involved and being able to get these resources to be able to, I guess, develop AI solutions. And another activity we did today was being stupid, is coming up with creative ways of how to solve our question, which is how we could collaborate with the community and the university. And so our stupid idea was actually using a dog, using a bot on a dog. So basically a little microphone around their neck. Well, the dog will come up to the individual and just start talking to them about AI, whether or not they've heard of AI, and just start the conversation. And that takes us to the topic of creating systems and structures to unlock a collaboration around AI to serve the public good. And we came up with a few systems and structures. One of them is mechanisms to incentivize AI related to research. Another one was creating courses that specialize on AI for public good. Also creating or implementing an interdisciplinary center where research could be done, collaborations, and just communication around AI. And then with regards to the question, is it worth it? Of course it's worth it. Technology is evolutionizing at a rapid speed. People want to share their raw ideas. Is it desire? Yes. Community resources, we need community resources in order to be able to fund these ideas, and is it worth it? Yes. That's all.
Okay, great. I'll take that.
So great question. So the community would be obviously with regards to with regards to the university, that includes students, that includes faculty, and that includes administrators. And with regards to the community, that includes the public good, your neighbor, someone at a homeless shelter, and also businesses, obviously because they're in the community, they should also have an input.
Great. Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Round of applause. Applause, applause, applause. I am now permanently stuck here, so I need help. Can we take some of these boards off? Let's keep everything together by group. That's going to be really important for tomorrow as well. So whatever material belongs to the last group that just presented, let's make sure that it travels together, and so on and so forth. Brilliant. Okay. Great. And so again, let's just make sure everything is stacked together perfect. That's going to make transporting really easy. So does anybody have any thoughts, anything top of mind that you want to toss out? Marty, do you want to say anything before we kind of go into our wrap up? Emma's going to do another round of reflection, but I thought that maybe this would be a great moment to pause and invite you to comment on what you've observed and experienced.
Sure. So thank you, and thanks. Some great ideas, some great thoughts. Starting with sort of non-traditional ways of doing things on university campuses. The think wrong methodology. So thank you. What I'm hearing is a whole lot of things, and we'll get together tomorrow. We'll figure out what all the takeaways are and what the next steps are. But what I'm hearing is a couple themes. One is a continued hunger for trying to figure out what our colleagues are doing around campus, and continuing to find ways to discuss with them. So in the think wrong world, one of the things that I realized about this whole thing, and I'll be curious the committee's view of this, we saw the lunch and learns as sort of the lead up to this event, and thought that, gee, something will come out of this event that may lead to something much different. But one of the things I'm hearing is that more of these lunch and learn type things, more opportunities for us to hear from each other. The other thing I'm hearing, and this came a lot out of Lily's lunch talk, which I thought was awesome, is a hunger to hear what's going on beyond the bounds of campus, in the community, in the state, in the nation, in the world. And so some sort of series that allows us to connect with more people like Lily, who are out there in the world doing really cool things with AI, thinking really interesting thoughts around AI. The thing that, so I'm hearing just a series of great ideas, and one of the things I love about this process and this whole bet small thing is that despite all the discussions of resources that we had that started out the day, these things strike me as very, very doable. A lot of the ideas are very low resource ideas, and so I think they'll be really helpful as we go forward. The last takeaway for me in all this is the importance of the people who are going to be involved in this. And I started out the day with this, that it's pretty clear to me that the next steps here are going to need to be driven at the just above the deck plates level, to quote Keith on that we need sort of folks, we need faculty in particular, staff, students, community members, but people to lead this effort into the next phase, and we'll have to figure out what that looks like, but you can be pretty certain that we'll be putting out some kind of a call inviting people who want to be involved in this, and so I hope you will answer that call and look forward to seeing what comes next. Thank you.
Thank you, Marty. All right, Emma, are you ready to do another round of reflection? I'm still so jealous that you can do that. This is amazing.
Awesome. Ooh, hey. Great. What an interesting day. I've learned a lot, and thank you all so much for showing up and asking difficult questions. So I'm just going to reflect on this piece. I've already talked about the other pieces. Immediately, this notion of what is our foundation? What are we building this conversation out of? Like, that needs to be addressed. These questions: what is AI? What is the common language? What is needed to get to AI? What's already being done? Who's working in this field? This is the big question. This is like, what's the network? What's the ecosystem that we're growing? And I keep coming back to these like growing, alive metaphors, because I think that another thing that's come up a number of times today is the need to connect this to our living ecosystem and not just the like technical fixes. So with that, this little arrow vortex is not a vortex of doom, but a vortex of excitement. And it starts with this interpersonal contact. And also, I love the idea of connecting funding to this idea of collaboration and understanding across disciplines. So putting yourself in someone else's seat, maybe even literally, love it. Then getting into this, fostering of collaboration, understanding that helps to develop this ecosystem that's rooted in AI speed dating. It's brilliant, love it. And then having it just feed back, and also recognizing that, yeah, we're here at DU, but this is a global conversation, and how are we fitting into what's happening around the world? And then from there, the foundation continues to grow. And once we've laid the groundwork, I'm looking at this wall outside. Y'all should check out the awesome stonework. We can really start to build something together that's cohesive and collective and gonna last and not crumble. So, thank you. Yeah, any questions? Or as you just look at this and reflect on the day, anything that's coming up for you? We'd love to hear from you.
Nothing? Okay, thank you. All right, so I'm tasked with bringing it home here. And I've just got a few reflections. And I'll begin by just kind of echoing what Emma just said and what all of you have said throughout your presentation. So I'm hearing just a really big desire and need for definition. I was really struck by the call for defining public and what good is. Really, really good exercise to do. And I'm really sensing, and I would agree with the need to do a really deep inventory of all the capability here on campus and reflected in all of you. And then also taking a bigger inventory of the field, really spending time out there looking at what other people are doing, immersing yourself in that, and so on and so forth. And then having done all those three things, you can get to real systems and structures. So my gut instinct at this point, based on several years of working as an org designer and a team designer, is you're not quite ready to go to the systems and structures level. And so I want to break that down really quickly. When we look at an organization, we look at it from the point of view of 5 biases or domains. So the farthest one out is the environment, what's going on in the world, what conditions are in play, what are the dynamics. And so you have responded to that with a commitment to AI. Then there's purpose. Why would we use AI to impact for the better the conditions out in the world? And then there's the strategies level. And so strategies are the bets that we're going to make in order to fulfill on purpose, in order to impact the environment. And so the ideas that we generated, I think, are really valuable. And as Marty said, they're not overly complex. They're doable or executable. And they'll make a wonderful portfolio to just try small bets and see what kind of input and feedback and data that you can generate and then dig into. And then from there, I think you will start to see and get a sense of the systems and structures that you need to truly unlock collaboration. So my recommendation would be to pick some prototypes, invest in some small bets and then use those endeavors to illuminate the systems and structures that are going to allow you to collaborate. And I also think that there's going to have to be a very high level of embedding in each other's works, in each other's departments. And I think it was Philip who said going out in the, or maybe it was you, did you say, who said go out in the world and embed with somebody else in the field? Or am I completely making that up? Was that you, Hiluk? Okay, good. So I think that there are, while we're not walking away with clearly laid out systems and structures that we're all aligned on and committed to and ready to throw resources against, I think we have a number of portals that are going to lead us there in short order. We're not talking years and years, we're probably talking a few months depending on how fast we can move. And so I think that overall this is a really, really great success, and it's something that's pretty admirable to lead a workshop where you have kind of a rotating group of participants is no small feat. And I think that we're kind of docking the boat in a really solid way. In spite of losing some folks who were leading some of the projects, I don't feel like we're really missing anything, which is a real accomplishment. So I want to acknowledge all of you for being here and helping to bring it home. So just give yourselves a quick hand. Yeah. And I, again, wanted to acknowledge the university as a whole, the provost, the chancellor, Marty, of course, Nina Sharma, who is in Europe getting a killer award because she's such a badass. I got to send her pictures. She's been emailing me about that. The entire committee, the students who've been so great and so patient and supportive and available to, do whatever needs to be done to make sure we could execute. And of course, my team with Emma and Michelle, thank you, all three of you, from the bottom of my heart. Such an honor and a privilege to work with you. And I will wrap this up with, at Common, I have the privilege of working with people like you every day around the world, and every one of them are committed to, passionately, fervently, to doing good in the world. And it's really, really powerful. It's very, very moving. Just this afternoon, I got an email from one of the women who are part of our community, and she's one of the entrepreneurs that we're helping. She's in the field of peace building and training young adults and young people to become advocates for peace. Really beautiful work. And the email back to me that she sent was in response to just a post that we put out on Instagram. We simply acknowledged her for not giving up, because she's been working at this for years and years and years. And contained in the email that she sent was a deeply felt, a heartfelt thank you for that simple little post. I didn't know it, but she was at a point where she was ready to give up her work. Jessica, that's her name, is responsible for saving hundreds of thousands of lives. She and her team go into some of the most unstable and volatile areas of the world and are somehow able to get people to come together and reduce the level of violence. And so to have accidentally stumbled on a little deed of good through a simple post that allowed another person to stay in the game of doing good is profound. And I'm sharing that not to kind of pat myself and ourselves on the back, but to remind all of you of what you're doing here and the desperate need to use these new technologies and the emerging possibilities and platforms to do good in the world. It's no small endeavor. We get caught up in our day-to-day, living our life, going about our work, but there are people out there who are reliant out there. You'll probably never meet them, you'll probably never have a chance to talk to them, but what's possible here, given your resources, given your firepower and capability, is profound. And so I just want to leave you with just a reminder of this is absolutely needed. It's needed right now more than ever. And I would just encourage you to do whatever you can to move as fast as possible so you can find those systems and structures that are going to allow you to ascend to a whole nother level and collaborate in a way that the university has never seen, felt, or experienced before. So on that note, thank you so much. We're going to wrap it up. Give yourselves a hand. Well done. And any final thoughts or comments? Got to ask one more time. You're a quiet group. Good? Okay. get something good to eat tonight. Have fun.